other words, please be true.
Let me tell you, Dad. Let me tell you. In other words, I love you. You big fat Jew.
And let me play your mouth. Not so fat anymore. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter or Mars.
In other words, please be true. In other words, Mitchell, I love you. And Jamie too.
Fill my heart with Schwanhammer and let me sing forevermore.
Because
You are all I long for. Oh, come on, worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words,
Winehouse.
the Winehouses. Never mind about the Hillers. What about the Winehouses? Okay.